There's a lot on stake. There's a lot on the line, and there is a lot to talk about. Uh, Tonight's the night. It's Ring 6. You got this guy right here, Teofimo Lopez, and you got Shakur Stevenson. Now, this is one of those matches. There used to be the talk of the Four Kings and who's in the Four Kings and who's whatever and which one of the Four Kings and who will be the last one left standing and all of that stuff and blah blah blah. Well, there are a lot of major ramifications that could come from this fight, right? There's a pot of gold at the end of the tunnel, we could say, and there's maybe a career defining moment that's associated with the winner of this fight, and it could be a career defining moment for the loser of this fight. There's a lot of good things and there's a lot of bad things that could come from this fight. But one thing that we do know is that this fight is happening tonight, it's happening in New York, and these two guys are, I want to say, they're not at the top tier, upper echelon of the sport, but let's say if there's an A level of the sport, which is the apex of the sport, they're more so within the B level of the sport. These are the guys who are supposed to bridge the gap between the older generation, the fighters that are 35 plus years old, and the newer generation, the fighters that are 25 plus years old. So you get a whole generation that was in between, caught up in a limbo that may have been turned off by Mayweather Pacquiao and gave up on the sport of boxing. There were some that came back due to the hype of guys like Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, Gervonta Davis, Deontay Wilder, Canelo Alvarez. But the masses, they didn't come back, and the reason being is because nothing interesting was happening in the sport. So when you have a fight like this, it's supposed to generate and garner a lot of fan interest. It's supposed to bring the casuals back into the sport, and it's supposed to be something that draws new viewers and old viewers alike into the sport. Problem being is that it's on a network that doesn't really catch too many people's eyes. That's not these guys' fault at all. Really not. But nonetheless, still a very interesting stylistic matchup. You have Teofimo Lopez, who's billed as the guy who is the more athletic fighter, who has the fast twitch muscles, and he's this super athlete, and also he's looked at as the guy with the knockout power. I mean, when he was at 135 pounds, it seems like no one could withstand his punch outside of Lomachenko, and it kind of was true until he lost to George Kambosos. Then you have Shakur Stevenson, who's looked at as the defensive wizard, whose defense has been impenetrable, and no one could figure out the code to crack his style and to beat him, to dethrone him. The last time we've actually seen him take a L was his last amateur fight, which was in the Olympics, where he finished silver medalist. So, when we talk about the stylistic breakdown, right, we're talking about a guy who's billed as a uber athlete versus a defensive wizard. Who wins is the real question. That's what we all want to know. Now, me per se, when it comes to my taste and what I like to see in fighters, I like to see a boxer puncher. That's what I really like. But when I look at the styles and when I look at this matchup, I'm leaning more towards Shakur Stevenson. Why? Because of all the flaws that Teofimo Lopez presents when he's fighting, he leaves his feet when he punches, leaves his hand down. He relies on a flat-footed fighter, and he doesn't use a jab. In order to beat a guy like a Shakur Stevenson, like a Floyd Mayweather, like a Pernell Whitaker, you need to have an active punch output. The most important punch in boxing is a jab. So, if you're not jabbing, and if you're not keeping the defensive fighter guessing, you're really fighting his fight, because Shakur Stevenson has proven that he's a thinker. He's a guy that's going to go in there, and he's going to think, and he's going to calculate what you're doing, and he's going to download information in my Timothy Bradley voice, and he's going to probe, and he's going to pick you apart. And when you get to that and he settles in, let's say around round 4, 5, 6, it's a wrap. So, if I'm Teofimo Lopez, I'm going to keep active. I'm going to dirty the fight up, push Shakur against the ropes, might throw a low blow in there, low blow or two in there, who knows, and do my best to make Shakur so uncomfortable that it takes him out of his character. What you want Shakur to do is to actually move his hands as much as possible and potentially get caught with something that he doesn't see coming. Because one thing we really have not seen, although Shakur had a moment versus William Cepeda, which wasn't really a moment because he slipped, where it looked like he got rocked, but he didn't. Shakur's never been tested before. Chin never been touched. So, if I'm T.O., I'm doing everything out of my usual norm, which is dirty the fight up. Might grab, hold, push, wrestle a little bit. They say that you're the most athletic fighter of the two of y'all, so your brute strength should be one of the athletic advantages that you use to make this fight dirty. And if you make this fight dirty, you'll walk away with the victory. If I'm Shakur, I'm going to do exactly what I'm known to do. I'm going to frustrate this man. I'm going to move around. I'm going to keep him guessing. I'm going to show different looks. And count on him to try to be the aggressor. He leaves his feet when he throws big shots. Potentially, somebody could get walked into something and could be dropped. I would lean towards him being the one getting dropped. I know, it's surprising. You're like, this dude don't know what the hell he's talking about. Just bear with me because he does do things like that. So, I gave you guys an analysis of these guys' styles and how they could win. If I'm picking a winner, I pick Shakur Stevenson. I see ways that T.O. could win. I just gave you guys that. But let's talk about the ramifications. What comes afterwards? Now, we could get a Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney. We could get a Shakur Stevenson versus a Devin Haney. We also could get Teofimo Lopez going up against his friend, Rolly Romero. We can get a Shakur Stevenson going down to 135 and actually dropping the belt like he promised he would do so Keyshawn Davis could pick it up and fighting Raymond Muratalla. Or Shakur could actually get the fight that he's actually wanted, which is one of the biggest fights in the world, depending on how the legal system pans out. Shakur versus Gervonta Davis. Maybe we could even get Teofimo Lopez versus Gervonta Davis. Maybe Teofimo Lopez gets brave again and calls out Jaron Boots Ennis. I don't think Shakur's going to 54. He says he's not a welterweight. Maybe, just maybe, Teofimo Lopez, if he wins, his dad already pissed the man off. Maybe Teofimo Lopez gets the ass whooping he's been desiring for some time now. Maybe he gets a shot at Terence Crawford. The Ring Magazine 2025 Fighter of the Year. There's only one way for us to really figure this out. We got to watch this fight, and we'll be back later on to see what's in store. What is the next step, and what are we going to talk about when the aftermath and the dust settles? Let's see. Y'all enjoy these fights and enjoy these videos. I'm about to go take a shower because I got a fight party to attend. Peace.